The cost of being honest with a narcissist. Being honest with a narcissist often feels like the right and most mature thing to do in a relationship. It feels grounded in integrity, emotional intelligence, and a genuine desire to build something real and meaningful. You naturally believe that speaking your truth will bring clarity, understanding, and emotional closeness. You assume that honesty will strengthen the connection instead of quietly damaging it over time. But what most people don't initially realize is something far more complex and unsettling. Honesty does not function the same way when you are dealing with a narcissist. In fact, honesty often becomes the very tool they use to gain control over you. When you express your feelings openly and clearly, they don't truly hear vulnerability or emotional depth. Instead, they hear an opportunity to understand your emotional triggers and weak points. Your truth becomes a detailed map of your sensitivities and emotional patterns. And once they have that map, they know exactly where and how to apply pressure. At first, it might seem like they are genuinely listening and taking you seriously. They may nod their head, stay unusually quiet, or even appear thoughtful and reflective. This creates a powerful illusion of safety and emotional respect. It makes you believe that your honesty is finally being received in a healthy way. But then, something subtle yet significant begins to shift over time. The same words you trusted them with start coming back in a completely different form. They twist your honesty into accusations that are suddenly used against you. They reframe your pain as weakness, neediness, or emotional instability. You say, "That really hurt me," and they respond by saying, "You're just too sensitive about everything." You say, "I need more consistency from you," and they respond with, "You're becoming too demanding lately." You say, "I felt ignored in that moment," and they respond with, "You're imagining things again." Slowly and almost without noticing it, your honesty stops feeling safe and supportive. It starts feeling like emotional exposure without any form of protection or understanding. It feels like standing in the middle of a storm while expecting shelter that never comes. And this is the hidden cost that most people never see coming. Because honesty is supposed to create intimacy and emotional closeness. But with a narcissist, it often creates imbalance and emotional distance. The more you reveal about yourself, the more they begin to withhold from you. The more you open up emotionally, the more they become distant and guarded. The more real and authentic you become, the more calculated and strategic they become. You begin to notice a repeating and frustrating pattern over time. Your honesty leads to defensiveness instead of genuine understanding. Your vulnerability leads to emotional distance instead of closeness. Your truth leads to conflict instead of resolution and growth. And this creates a deep sense of confusion inside you, because you start questioning the way you communicate your thoughts and feelings. You begin to wonder if you said too much or revealed too much about yourself. You start asking yourself if you should have stayed quiet instead. This is where self-doubt begins to quietly grow beneath the surface. Not because you are actually wrong in your feelings or perceptions, but because your honesty is being invalidated again and again. Over time, something even more damaging begins to happen within you. You start editing yourself before you even speak your truth out loud. You rehearse your words carefully to avoid triggering negative reactions. You shrink your emotions and filter your truth just to keep the peace. And without even realizing it at first, you begin to lose parts of yourself, not in a dramatic or obvious way, but slowly and quietly over time. The cost of being honest with a narcissist is not just conflict or arguments, it is the gradual erosion of your self-trust and emotional confidence. Because when your truth is constantly dismissed or rejected, you begin to disconnect from that truth within yourself. You start thinking, maybe it wasn't that serious after all. You start saying, maybe I am overreacting more than I thought. You start believing, maybe it's better if I just let it go. But here is the reality that you need to clearly understand. Your honesty was never the actual problem in this situation. The real problem is that narcissists do not value truth the way you do. They value control, image, power, and emotional dominance over authenticity. So when you bring honesty into the relationship, it disrupts the version of reality they are trying to maintain. And instead of adjusting themselves to align with the truth, they try to reshape the truth to fit their own narrative. This is why being honest with a narcissist feels so exhausting and draining, because you are not just expressing yourself in a healthy way, you are constantly being forced to defend your reality and your emotions. And that is a battle that no one can sustain forever without consequences. Eventually, You reach a moment where something inside you shifts. You begin to realize that honesty alone cannot fix this dynamic, because honesty only works when both people value truth equally, and a narcissist often values control far more than truth. So the real shift begins right here within you. Not when you stop being honest with yourself or others, but when you stop expecting your honesty to change them. You can still choose to be truthful and authentic. You can still choose to express yourself in a real way. But you must also develop awareness and emotional boundaries. Awareness of how your truth is being received and processed. Awareness of how your vulnerability is being used or misused. Awareness of when honesty is empowering you and when it is simply exposing you to harm. Because sometimes the strongest and most powerful thing you can do is not to say more or explain yourself further, but to recognize who has truly earned access to your truth. And that realization changes everything about how you show up.